The cold metal of the handcuffs bit into my wrists as Detective Morrison led me through my own office, past shocked employees, and toward the elevator. My sister Victoria stood by the reception desk, a look of righteous satisfaction on her face. "I told you I'd make you pay, Diana," she called after me. "You should have stayed in your lane instead of trying to compete with me." I kept my expression neutral, even as anger burned in my chest. After 15 years of living in Victoria's shadow, I'd finally built something of my own. Now she was trying to tear it all down with false accusations and manufactured evidence. My name is Diana Chen, and at 35, I'd spent the last 3 years building Chen Digital Solutions from the ground up. Meanwhile, my sister Victoria had inherited our father's tech company, Chen Innovations, despite having no real understanding of the industry. But that was nothing new. Victoria had always been his favorite. "Ms. Chen," Detective Morrison said as we reached his car, "you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law." I nodded, sliding into the backseat. Through the window, I could see Victoria talking to other officers, gesturing animatedly as she no doubt spun her tale of corporate espionage and stolen trade secrets. If only she knew what was really in that office safe. The ride to the police station was quiet, giving me time to think about how we'd gotten here. Growing up, Victoria had always been the golden child. Pretty, popular, and commanding attention wherever she went. I was the quiet one, more interested in coding and technology than parties and popularity. Our father, James Chen, had built Chen Innovations from nothing, turning it into one of the most successful tech companies in Seattle. Victoria had always assumed she'd inherit everything simply because she was the eldest. She never bothered to learn the business, content to let others do the actual work while she played CEO. I, on the other hand, had spent every spare moment learning from our father. He taught me coding, system architecture, business strategy, everything he knew. But in public, he maintained the facade that Victoria was his successor. What Victoria didn't know was that in the months before his death, our father had started to see through her act. He'd recognized her lack of knowledge, her disinterest in actually understanding the industry, and he'd made plans accordingly. At the police station, Detective Morrison led me to an interrogation room. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as he set up a recording device. "Ms. Chen, your sister has provided evidence that you stole proprietary information from Chen Innovations to start your own company. She claims you accessed their servers after hours and downloaded confidential client data and project specs." I smiled slightly. "Has she shown you proof of these alleged server access logs?" He shuffled through some papers. "She provided documentation showing unauthorized access from an IP address traced to your home." "Interesting," I said. "And did anyone verify the authenticity of those logs?" Morrison frowned. "Our tech team is analyzing them now." "You should also analyze the dates," I suggested. "You'll find that the alleged unauthorized access occurred during a period when I was still legally an employee of Chen Innovations, with full system access rights." He made a note, his frown deepening. "Ms. Chen also claims you stole their client list to poach customers." "Detective," I said, leaning forward, "have you looked into when these clients started working with my company? You'll find that every single one approached us independently after becoming dissatisfied with Chen Innovations' declining service quality under Victoria's leadership." "You seem very calm for someone facing serious charges," he observed. "That's because I have nothing to hide," I replied. "Everything Victoria has accused me of is false, and I can prove it. But first, I need you to check my office safe." He raised an eyebrow. "Your safe?" "Yes. The combination is 47 to 2391. Inside, you'll find documents that will interest you greatly." Morrison studied me for a moment before nodding to another officer. "Johnson, get a team to Ms. Chen's office. Check the safe." As they left, I settled back in my chair. Victoria thought she had won, that she'd finally put me in my place. She had no idea that our father had left me more than just business lessons. The next few hours passed slowly. I answered questions, provided alibis, and waited patiently for the officers to return from my office. Finally, Detective Morrison walked back in, holding a thick manila envelope. "Ms. Chen," he said, his tone markedly different, "would you like to explain what these documents are?" I smiled. "Those, detective, are the real reason Victoria is trying to have me arrested." The first set proves that every client who left Chen Innovations did so because of documented service failures under Victoria's management. The second set shows that our father had concerns about Victoria's ability to run the company. And this? He held up a sealed envelope with my father's handwriting on it. That, I said quietly, is a letter our father wrote 3 days before he died. He knew Victoria wasn't ready to run Chen Innovations. He also knew she would never accept that reality. Morrison opened the envelope carefully, reading through the contents. His eyebrows rose progressively higher. According to this, your father left controlling interest in Chen Innovations to you, not Victoria. I nodded. She forged documents after his death to make it appear that she'd inherited everything. The original will is in there too, along with proof of the forgery. The detective sat down heavily. Why didn't you come forward with this before? Because I wanted to build something of my own first, I explained. I knew that if I challenged Victoria immediately, she would claim I was just jealous. So I started Chen Digital Solutions, proved I could succeed without our father's company. The truth about the inheritance was my insurance policy. And now? Now, I said, Victoria has forced my hand. She thought she could destroy me by having me arrested. Instead, she's given me the perfect opportunity to reveal everything. Morrison gathered the documents carefully. We'll need to investigate these claims thoroughly. In the meantime, you're free to go. We'll be in touch. As I walked out of the police station, my phone buzzed with messages from my employees, clients, and lawyers. But the one that caught my eye was from my old assistant at Chen Innovations. Victoria's having a meltdown. Someone told her about the safe. I smiled, climbing into a taxi. The game wasn't over yet, but for the first time since our father died, I held all the cards. Victoria had always underestimated me, dismissed me as the quiet, boring sister who didn't deserve attention. She was about to learn just how wrong she'd been. The morning after my release, I walked into Chen Digital Solutions to find my employees gathered in the lobby, applauding. Their loyalty meant everything. They'd stood by me even when Victoria tried to paint me as a criminal. Back to work, everyone, I said with a smile. We have clients counting on us. My office was exactly as I'd left it, though the safe stood open, its contents now in police possession. My assistant Alex appeared in the doorway, tablet in hand. The press is calling nonstop, he said, and Victoria's lawyer tried to serve us with a cease and desist order. I sat down at my desk, powering up my computer. On what grounds? They're still claiming intellectual property theft. But there's something else. Chen Innovations stock dropped 15% this morning. Rumors about the inheritance dispute are spreading. Perfect. Victoria's attempt to destroy me was backfiring spectacularly, and I was just getting started. My phone buzzed. Detective Morrison. Ms. Chen, we verified the documents from your safe. The will forgery is clear, and we have enough evidence to pursue criminal charges against your sister. Thank you, Detective, I replied, but let's hold off on that for now. I have a different approach in mind. After hanging up, I opened my email to find a message from Chen Innovations' board of directors requesting an urgent meeting. Another from their largest client expressing concerns about the company's stability. And finally, one from Victoria herself. Whatever you think you're doing, stop it now. You have no idea what you're messing with. I was composing my response when my office door burst open. Victoria stormed in, her designer heels clicking against the floor, face flushed with anger. You vindictive little snake, she hissed. Do you have any idea what you've done? I leaned back in my chair, studying her. The perfectly polished facade was cracking, her hands shook slightly, and her expensive blazer was buttoned wrong. I could ask you the same thing, I replied calmly. Having me arrested? Really, Victoria? You stole from me, she shouted. Everything Dad built was supposed to be mine. Was it? Or is that just what you convince yourself? I stood up, meeting her gaze. Dad left you the company because you manipulated the will, not because you deserved it. She laughed bitterly. Deserved it? I was his firstborn. His heir. You were just the weird little tech geek he felt sorry for. Is that what you think? I opened my drawer and pulled out a USB drive. Want to know what Dad really thought? Victoria's eyes fixed on the drive. What is that? Security footage from Dad's office the day before he died. When he threatened to expose his affair with his secretary if he didn't change the will in your favor. The color drained from her face. You're lying. Am I? Should we watch it together? See how you told him you destroy his reputation unless he signed everything over to you. She took a step back, her confidence crumbling. How did you? I was there, I said quietly, in the server room next door, doing maintenance. I heard everything, and I made sure to save the footage. Victoria sank into a chair, her legs seemingly unable to hold her. What do you want? Initially? Nothing. I was content building my own company, letting you play CEO until you inevitably ran things into the ground. But then you tried to have me arrested. I had to, she burst out. You were becoming too successful. Clients were leaving us for you. The board was asking questions about my leadership. I walked around the desk, perching on its edge, and now they're going to ask even more questions. About the will, about your qualifications, about everything. You'll destroy the company, she whispered. No, Victoria, you've been destroying it for years. I'm going to save it. Just then, Alex appeared in the doorway. Ms. Chen, the board of directors is here. Victoria's head snapped up. What? They're not supposed to be here until tomorrow. They're not here for you, I said, standing. They're here for me. The next hour was exactly what our father would have called a corporate bloodbath. The board members sat stone-faced as I presented evidence of Victoria's forgery, mismanagement, and declining client satisfaction rates. When I played a small clip from the security footage, Victoria slumped in her chair, defeated. Ms. Chen, the board chairman said, addressing me, not Victoria, given these revelations and the original terms of your father's will, we believe immediate leadership changes are necessary. Victoria shot to her feet. You can't do this. I built. You built nothing. I cut her off. You inherited a successful company and drove it into the ground. The only thing you ever built was lies. The chairman cleared his throat. Ms. Victoria Chen, the board is requesting your immediate resignation. Security will escort you to clear out your office. As Victoria was led away, mascara streaming down her face, I felt no satisfaction. This wasn't about revenge, it was about protecting our father's legacy. Deanna, the chairman said, we'd like to discuss your return to Chen Innovations as CEO. I shook my head. Thank you, but no. I've built something of my own at Chen Digital Solutions. I won't abandon that. Then perhaps we should discuss a merger, he suggested. Both companies would benefit, and it would honor your father's original vision. Later that evening, as I sat in my office reviewing merger proposals, I found an old photo in my desk. It showed me and Victoria as children, sitting on our father's lap while he worked. We were both smiling then, before ambition and jealousy tore us apart. My phone buzzed with a text from Victoria. I'm sorry. For everything. Can we talk? I stared at the message for a long moment. Part of me wanted to ignore it, to let her live with the consequences of her actions. But another part remembered that little girl in the photo. Tomorrow, I replied. Bring coffee. Victoria arrived at my office early the next morning, carrying 2 cups of coffee, not from an expensive cafe, but from the small diner where we used to eat breakfast with Dad. It was a small gesture, but it spoke volumes. I brought your favorite, she said quietly, setting the cup on my desk. Triple shot vanilla latte, extra hot. I gestured to the chair across from me. You remembered. I remember a lot of things, she said, sitting down. Like how Dad used to let you play with his computer while I was at dance practice. How excited you'd get when you solved a coding problem. The coffee's aroma filled the room, bringing back memories of Sunday mornings and family meetings, before everything went wrong. Why did you do it, Victoria? I asked. Not just the will, all of it. The accusations, the arrest. She stared into her cup for a long moment. I was scared, she finally admitted. Terrified, actually. Everyone expected me to be this brilliant successor to Dad's legacy. But I didn't understand half of what the company did. You were the one who got the technical side, who really knew the business. You could have asked for help, and admit I wasn't good enough. She laughed bitterly. Do you know what it's like being the eldest, always having to be perfect? When Dad started mentoring you more, teaching you things he'd never bothered to teach me, I felt replaced. I thought about all the years of competition between us, the rivalry that had poisoned our relationship. So you tried to force him to choose you. The affair was real, she said softly. I found out by accident. But using it against him, that was the worst thing I've ever done. He died thinking I was a monster. Tears slid down her cheeks, and for the first time in years, I saw my sister instead of my rival. He loved you, Victoria, despite everything. Did he? She wiped her eyes. The last thing he said to me was that he was disappointed. Not angry, just disappointed. That was worse. I pulled out the USB drive that had caused her downfall. Want to know something? There's no security footage on this. It's empty. I just needed you to think I had proof. She stared at me, then started laughing through her tears. You played me. The quiet little sister outmaneuvered me completely. I learned from the best, I said, allowing myself a small smile. You were always better at strategy than me. Victoria sobered. What happens now? With the companies? The merger is happening, I said. Chen Innovations and Chen Digital Solutions will become Chen Technologies. But I'm not running it alone. She frowned. What do you mean? The board suggested a co-CEO structure. You handle the business strategy and client relations, the things you're actually good at. I handle the technical side and operations. You trust me, after everything? I took a sip of my coffee, considering. Trust needs to be earned. But family? That's different. Dad built this company believing in the power of family. Maybe it's time we honored that. I don't deserve a second chance, she said quietly. Probably not, I agreed. But you're getting one anyway. Don't waste it. The next few months were challenging. Merging two companies was complex enough without adding family dynamics to the mix. But slowly, we found our rhythm. Victoria's talent for networking and client relationships complemented my technical expertise. Together, we were stronger than either of us had been alone. 1 year after the merger, we stood together at the opening of our new headquarters. The building's lobby featured a wall of photos chronicling our company's history. In the center was a picture of our father, flanked by childhood photos of Victoria and me. He'd be proud, Victoria said, studying the display. Not just of the company, but of us. For finally figuring it out. I squeezed her hand. Better late than never. That evening we had dinner at the old diner, sitting in the same booth where we used to eat with Dad. Victoria pulled out an envelope and slid it across the table. What's this? I asked. Open it. Inside was a legal document. She had officially changed her shares in the company to joint ownership between us. Equal partners, just as Dad had originally intended. Victoria. It's time, she said simply. No more games, no more power plays. Just sisters, building something together. As we left the diner, I thought about how far we'd come. The arrest, the safe, the inheritance dispute. It all seemed distant now, like a cautionary tale we'd finally learned from. My phone buzzed with a message from Alex. Emergency at the office. Server crash. Victoria peered over my shoulder and grinned. Race you there. Loser buys coffee tomorrow. I smiled, remembering countless childhood races home from school. You're on. But I warn you, I've been practicing. As we rushed to our cars, laughing like kids again, I realized that sometimes the best revenge isn't winning. It's finding a way to stop keeping score.